You should have said I am from Puerto Rico.
Well, it's great to be on here because I watch this every Sunday night. It's one of my go-tos.
Oh man, that's awesome! Thank you, man.
Yeah, this is a lot of my fellow friend collectors are making comments. We're all making comments every Sunday night. So good to be on.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you, but I gotta have, since I have John on, I'm so happy to have you on. We talked a little bit, but before we get started, I gotta have your world famous intro of every video.
Well, you want to ask me a question?
What do you want to do?
I like to look at some baseball cards.
Right. I love it. I love it. Even before any of your videos, just let you know we are live now. So we have James Gillum on here.
James.
I don't know if you had a chance to meet James. John, he's pretty. He is a well-traveled visitor on the YouTubes. He doesn't have a channel, but he hits a lot of channels.
Yeah.
So he's a really good fellow in the community. But just before we get people on here and everything, I don't know if you saw how I labeled it tonight, was kind of creator responsibilities. And this has to come out with like what I put yesterday, and me and you talking a little bit yesterday, just about, and I just want to get this over with and out there. First off, thank you very much for not going live last Sunday night or Sunday before. When you said that in that video, I know I felt like I knew who you were talking about, or one of the people you were talking about, and I really do appreciate that. And,
yeah, man, I wouldn't interfere with this show. This is too great, and then I might not have anybody on mine because everybody's over here.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're a staple of this community, and I'm trying to be. This show, I feel like it's where I'm doing something. I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah,
and I feel, and I have a lot of support from a lot of, and it means a lot to me. Like you said, you and your fellow friends, which are also creators and people I respect in the community. I love having a show for other guys in the community to watch. I like to be the bar that all the bartenders want to go to,
Yeah, I mean, for years we didn't have any content for cars, right? You couldn't watch anything on TV or nothing. So YouTube gives us that outlet. Now there are some shows popping up now,
right?
But this is, a lot of us just are constantly looking for card talk or information or education or just entertainment. And I noticed a lot of guys, they like the talking videos or the interviews or whatever because they like to listen while they're driving and they can't watch.
Yes.
So I get you get a lot of those comments when you do a talking video and it's longer, and they like it to be longer so they could, So yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing in the hobby.
Yeah, I have. I know Rick and Scott. They think when I make a short one, Rick always jumps me for being too short.
My videos used to be like 5 minutes long. I mean, I just pop on, show a couple cards I got that day, and see ya.
That's and mine, I can show 2 cards. It talks 30 minutes. I go, this was going to be a short one, and it's a short 30 minutes. I like to ramble. Hi, Paige.
I have a short attention span, so I tend to appreciate the shorter videos myself.
Right.
Unless it's a discussion of these sorts,
You got Double D.
Double D.
Yeah, so we got our.
He's in a running for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, nice. The voting's about to begin, I think. and he has invited us all to Hawaii. By the way, I don't know if you know that. We're all welcome to come and stay with him in Hawaii.
Right.
Oh man,
I'll stay outside right there.
He's freaking out right now.
We got Staven. How you doing, Staven?
I look good. I look good in a straw skirt too, boys. So.
A grass skirt.
Oh, here we go.
With coconuts.
There we go. We got the hang loose sign, so there we're good to go. Thank you, Double D. Well, to get into it, we're going to jump into just a little bit of your video because I think it's been talked and followed through much bigger people. The video you did with Elite was 10 out of a 10 with y'all two. I love James. He's a great guy. Man, when he does lives, and he's very topical, and he does a great job with it. I aspire to be him. But what I wanted to talk about was a little bit of I said yesterday, those people have a place, and I want to open up because what I meant was they have a place, and I might not like it. You might not like it. You even touched on it on your follow up. And that's why I said responsibilities, because my theory, my thought is not theory, is anybody that's in a public space, and we're in a public space, has some sort of responsibility for the people that are going to watch. You might not think you do, but you have some sort. And even like Pepino Man might be crazy and all that when he does his stuff. But he does let people know, hey, this is who I am, and don't do that. What I do, you don't necessarily do. And to watch what Pepino does and when he talks about it, he knows his stuff. At the end of the day, the man knows what he's talking about.
Very knowledgeable.
Right. So what I love the Ferrari and the Rolex because those two guys.
It's just a joke, man. People get so offended.
I know,
it.
But
It's a hobby joke.
Yeah.
Listen, when I saw it, I thought it was the promo for that YouTube promotional ads that pop up for self businesses. How to do a self business class for passive income.
Well, the thing is in America right now, nobody can take a joke anymore. Number one,
that's true. Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you make a statement, then people would jump on you and assume that you mean you don't like the opposite of that statement. For instance, if I say I love peanut butter jelly, if I say I love peanut butter sandwiches, it doesn't mean I dislike peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I could like those too.
Right.
But people take the opposite. Like if I say I like raw cards, then they take that to mean you hate graded cards.
Right.
And it's not the same statement.
Yes.
If you prefer graded cards, it doesn't necessarily mean you hate raw cards. You know what I mean? But where we are now, everybody just assumes you mean the opposite, or you're taking a side.
That's very insightful. Yep.
Yeah. Next, man, tell your story you told me of the LCS you went into yesterday. This was not the second.
Yeah. This was crazy. And John touches on exactly what your content was. Some of your content material. I called Scott, and I had an event. I went to a card shop in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it is in a higher end, like commercial district, and so the overhead's got to be pretty good. Yeah. And there's a Starbucks and there's a high end women's store right next door to him, so he's paying premium stuff on his rent. Well, you go in there, and he's got raw cards. He's got nice selection of stuff. It's a nice setup. But the only slabs he has in there are PSA 10s.
Yeah.
Nothing else. And I'd gone in there to selling some stuff. And I'd made transactions with him before. But he made the comment that just flat out said, my customers don't want anything but a PSA 10. Yeah. And my response was, well, have you educated them on other products, that it's the card, it's not the slab? That's at this point you're buying a PSA venture opinion, not the actual damn card that's inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with him doing that. He probably has limited availability. He needs to sell expensive cards. That's his prerogative, and it's collectors' prerogative if they want only 10s. Now, you and I might find that ridiculous as collectors, and especially as collectors of things that don't come in a 10, right? Like I have a lot of old rare cards that don't even come in a 5. They don't exist. But Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, and you don't want to have your store all cluttered up like some card shops, is it the store I would open? Absolutely not. That's not me, but that's his prerogative. And like you said, he's in high rent district, so he's got to sell. He's got to make his nut there, you know.
What was crazy was that the last customer that came in when I walked out was like, do you not have anything else that's lower priced?
Yeah. Well, he's going to have limited,
Yeah.
probably limited traffic, right?
No, he's got some good foot traffic. He's got, yeah, he does good business.
Well, are we talking like vintage, or are we talking modern, or both?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. Yeah.
You showed him a Maris, right? Or you looked
at
a Maris in there?
Yeah. He had a Maris in there. He had a Maris PSA 8. He wanted $1,300.
No, wait a minute. You just said he only had 10s.
Yeah. Well, the reason was I had a Maris to show him. Mine was a 6. But yeah, all like his modern stuff. Most of his, like 99% of stuff is all PSA. And when you go in there to sell something, that's all he wants. He's like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where the hobby has moved to. Now, the next question, if you want to get into that, is, can trends be trusted? I just posted that Sports Card Radio video where they're, they took a Tom Brady 6, and there are these guys claiming, and I mean, they have physical evidence to support that somebody doctored it and sent it back in and got an 8.5. And, this is like a $65,000 card. And Breakout Cards has done videos, and I've been very vocal about this, and you should check it out for yourself. But he certainly makes a good point that they're grading fake Topps authenticated autograph cards of Willie Mays. He shows examples, and it stands out like a sore thumb based on what he shows if it's accurate. And we certainly know that they have graded, trimmed, and stuff like that in the past. So it's pretty, it's scary when it's starting to hit those companies more and more and more. Or if they're getting tricked, maybe they're not. If they're getting tricked, that's a problem too. But I've said it all that listen. People send in cards, get a 9, send it back 3 times until they get a 10. And they do get 10s. Maybe not every time, maybe not even most of the time, but it happens. Somebody had just made a comment to me that a guy had a 7 in a PSA, thought it was undergraded, sent it back in, and it got a 9. A 9 or a 10. And so how does that happen? Right. I mean, so we know that happens. We know how it happens. So why do we put so much faith in those then? Maybe some of the 10s you're buying are really 8s or 9s. How do we know? And, the money is way up there now, way up there. And I think we all have cards in our collection that are graded. And we know that if we ever sent them to another company, they would never get that grade. We know they're overgraded. And so you have to keep them in that old slab forever. It's just the way it is. And that's why I don't put all my faith or the value of my collection in PSA as far as my personal value of it.
Well, now, with that being said, with that being said, do you think that we know that happens? So
yeah.
What's your opinion on PSA undergrading on purpose for certain cards? Do you have any thoughts about that?
You know what? I mean, I don't know if they do that or not. I certainly have cards, and I say it all the time. I say the grader had to be smoking crack when he graded this thing. Because, I mean, there's like no crease. It's perfect, and it's a 1.5 or a 2. And you're like, what's he seeing under a loop that I can't see under a light with a magnifying glass? I don't know. Maybe there's something under there. But that's back to my point of why I don't care. Because I don't look at my cards under loops. And I personally don't buy them as an investment. But with the way the money has gone, you need those 9s, you need and vintage, and you need the 10s in modern. And I think something else that gets confused is when I kind of make fun and it has to be a 10. I'm talking modern cards. I'm not talking vintage. There's a difference. Like, I don't want to, I'm not out there looking for 5s and 6s in modern cards either. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for that. But, I think that most people just can't tell the difference between a 9 and a 10. And if they could tell a difference, I mean, I can prove it. I can prove it because if you could tell the difference between an 8, 9, and 10, you wouldn't send the 8s and 9s in, and you certainly wouldn't be surprised when they come back an 8 or 9.
Right.
Because if you could tell the difference, you're only sending the 10s in.
I got a stack of 8.5 sitting over here
Yeah.
from CSG. I mean, I just bought a Yadier Molina 7, rookie. On eBay, it looked very good. I can't wait to get it just to see, how good that 7 looks. But
Well,
we got.
I want to say this. I just want to say this. One point about raw cards. There's a guy on YouTube, and I was watching his video, and he got back into collecting, and he wanted to go back and make the rookie run of the 70s and get all the 70s cards. And I was fascinated with this guy's journey because what he did was he would go onto eBay and he would find the sharpest raw cards he could find, and he was buying them for a fraction of even lesser graded ones. And he was buying them in multiple copies. So that when he could send them in, he's a grading fan. He wanted to have them graded, but he bought them raw because he saved so much money, and he handpicked them, and everything he sent in got like high grades. And he would send multiple copies and keep the highest and sell off the others. But he's buying nothing but raw off of eBay, and they're all getting high grades, and people don't want to touch them because all these scammers have you a nervous wreck about buying anything. And eBay adds to that, when they have to authenticate graded cards. See, my problem with them authenticated graded cards, I don't think people understand me when I say this, is the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. The bigger picture. The message that sends is that nothing can be trusted. You can't even trust a graded card anymore. Yeah, and right. So when you're spending thousands of dollars on a graded card and you can't trust it, now those are bigger problems. Right. It's not the fact that eBay might not be trying to do the right thing. And I think that's where I'm misunderstood on that. It adds to the paranoia that's going on in the hobby and all these scammers. Now, when I speak out, I'm speaking out about against the scammers. There is a place in this hobby for flippers, for dealers, for collectors, for hybrids. I'm the first to say that. But I'm talking scammers. And when I talk scammers, people think I'm talking flippers. I'm not. Right. I'm not. There's a difference between flippers, who I might not like what they're doing to the hobby. I might not like the prices, the increases because of that's different than scammers. Right. And I'm speaking out against the scammers and the people that are lying to you and the guys that, are charging you $195 a month for their advice. And there's not a single person that can come on. I've seen no evidence if somebody says, I pay $195 to this guy every month and I'm making a killing. Show me those people and I'll be the first to apologize and I'll be the first to congratulate. Yeah, but I haven't seen a single video of any of those people.
And the thing is you got to expect at least one person, just one off, to hit it. A blind squirrel finds a nut.
Well, listen, you can go get a pack today and pull a card that's worth more than my entire collection, and I have 100,000 quality cards. Right. That's different than a strategy and doing it on purpose. It's like, this dude was sitting on this 1952 Mickey Mantle for 30 years. And I say it all the time. There's all kind of old guys and guys that collected when I did that are sitting on these huge collections of vintage cards, and they ain't sending, they're not paying $20,000, $50,000, or in my case, $1 million to have them all graded by PSA. Right. A 52 Mantle hits the news. Yeah, man, let's do this. Let me get, this is my retirement money. This is, money that makes my family wealthy. But, what's that say about the pop reports too? If you have the nicest example, potentially the nicest example ever surfacing, that's been in somebody's drawer for 30 years. Think about that.
Right. Well, while you got that question, I want to hide this when we'll come back to Binks. You brought up a great point with the grading and the prices, because you with what you have, most of your collection that's raw, to keep it as a collector, to get it graded would be almost impossible for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I don't want to overspeak myself. Anybody we could have Jeff Wilson money, but you still can't grade everything you have and still have, right?
I don't know how much
haven't
money Jeff
graded.
Wilson has.
I
Everybody
don't-
assumes he's a billionaire.
Well,
I don't know what he has.
Well,
You know, somebody was making a comment that I'm a loser because he's half my age and has way more than me. I said, you don't know what I have. You have
Right.
no idea what I have, and you have
and you
no
don't know
idea
how
what he
it
has.
came about.
I can
either.
assure you, like 90% of people that drive BMWs can't afford them.
Right.
I knew a guy that drove around in a Ferrari. He leased it for a couple thousand a month and couldn't, was struggling to pay his electric bill. You don't know what people have.
Right.
Just
Well,
because they have a fancy video. I don't know what he has. I see him do these shorts and their seminars like I used to do. But I don't hear anybody in the audience. I think he just videos them to make it look like he's talking to people. I don't know. We don't know. Always, when you see something on a video, you could be being duped. You don't know.
Well, I'm glad that I had some vintage of my dad's, and I got it graded a few years ago before this craziness of, if you grade this card and it's worth this, it's going to cost you. We're getting a piece of that pie, like everybody's selling their cards. If I ever got in on a break of a 52 break or won a mantle, I couldn't get it graded because I want to keep it. So in order for me to grade it, I had to sell like a house or something. I couldn't do it. So I mean, I guess that was my point. Is like, for me as a collector, to get some things graded, I can't do it. I have to keep it raw.
It's impossible. It's financially impossible. I told you,
Right.
I'm not kidding. It would cost $1 million to grade all my raw cards.
Right.
I have near sets from the early 1900s on. I have at least a near set for the entire decade of the 60s and 70s and 80s. And for me to do set registries for all those, what would that cost me?
Right.
It'd be $1 million.
And if somebody makes the comment that with that, to do that, I have that kind of money to do that, that's disposable income that they can do. And I said, well, they're not doing that. They're the ones buying the mantle that's on the auction block.
See here,
that's who's making those buys. They're not grading stuff. They're letting everybody else grade it, and they're buying the final result.
And it's a difference between being able to pay it and wanting to pay it. I didn't work all my life to give PSA all my damn money.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. And how many awesome cards could I buy?
Exactly.
I could have bought out that REA auction for what I would have to pay to grade all my cards. I'd rather have the REA auction, and they're already graded.
Right.
That's too easy.
Today I sat here when I ran errands and I came back, and of course when I run errands I go into different places because I don't only collect sports cards, I do video games and Star Wars stuff. I have other passions, not like baseball cards, but also went to my LCS today. But I sat here today and go, man, what I could have bought if I would have not bought this other stuff. And put it into one card as I'm looking at eBay stuff.
Yeah, but don't you think that's the collector's mentality? Like, if you're, that's the collector's mentality. Like, oh my God, I could have bought this Babe Ruth for what I spent to have all those cards graded.
Exactly.
Me personally,
right?
And, everybody's free to do what they want. Me personally, I'd rather have the Babe Ruth.
Right, and I get like that, and I save money for certain things, but I got to have other stuff too. Bink wants to know creator responsibility ? Is that more for the influence type channels? And for me, I think I said before, I think anybody that's that does something in the public eye, you don't like. I'm not an influencer per se, but you don't know who's out there, and I get a lot of questions. I have people at work that give me their collections as a kid, and I'm going to be looking at them later tonight and going back and giving them what I think about it. I have stuff so people think, I have an eye for things. I've been doing this a long time. I haven't been doing it to the depth of other people like John here, but I have my own little niche that I'm into, and you give me stuff that's in my era, 70s, 80s, 90s, and I can do pretty well with. So
there's a difference.
I can't sit here and go, hey, collect all those 87 Maguires, and they're going to be, just offhandedly. We do have some sort of response. It just changes. I'm not sitting here trying to sell you anything, but
I think the responsibility lies in the viewer. It's
that
like,
does.
I mean,
Yep.
these creators have every right to do whatever the hell they want.
Yes.
But we also have a right to call them out when they're a scammer or they're
That's what
totally
my
wrong.
That's what my
I'm
next
not.
point was.
Well,
Going
the
to be.
term influencer, the term influencer has been thrown around a lot within the hobby, and the ones that are the scammers, they're not influencers. An influencer is for
Well,
social
I don't
media
know.
purposes. Influencers is where Tops would say, John, I want you to represent my product. You're going to be an influencer for people to buy my product. I don't see any of these guys doing it unless their own companies doing it for them. I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, well, a
It's
lot of them
given
are
a
doing it
strong
for each
opinion.
other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing it for each other, and if you're following one, they're promoting these other guys, and then yeah, I
Throwing them a
mean,
bone. Yeah.
Well, see,
it's getting harder and harder to know who to trust in this hobby anymore. It's all a bunch of noise and all this stuff coming at young people. See, I worry about young people because when I was young, I might take stupid high interest rate loans, and because I don't know any better. Or
right.
every time when you go to a shop and you're buying, you go to Macy's or wherever, and they say you want to save 10%, open up a credit card. What they don't tell you is it hurts your credit rating. And
Right.
and so when you're young, you're stupid. You want to save the 10%. You have all these department store cards, and then you wonder why you have a 540 credit rating. But because we don't learn this stuff, and you only learn it through experience. And the people who have the experience are us collectors and old people who have been in life 30, 40 years. But you remember when we were young, we didn't want to listen to anybody. So all we can do is try to spread the word and what we know and try to save people from themselves, really. Those things like paying $195 a month for my information, that happens right now on the financial news.
Right.
You go on there right now and somebody's selling you how to buy stocks. You'll never lose. They'll tell you when to buy. They'll tell you when to sell. They're Wall Street insiders. They're the
20 years ago,
biggest
like,
traders.
we'll teach
But
you how to
you never
flip
heard of them.
houses or
Warren
whatever
Buffett
it
ain't
was.
using their services.
It's
So
whatever.
you don't know who to trust. But as you get older, you realize these guys. Why would somebody who's making $1 billion, $1 million a day, need to sell you on his ideas? Think about it.
Yeah.
You don't see Elon Musk and Bezos doing infomercials or selling you on how to run a successful business. And even if they did, they might have some God-given charisma or talent that you don't have. You're not going to have the same results. It's like TJ Watt could take a young linebacker and he could train him for 3 years, teach him everything he knows, and he still wouldn't be TJ Watt.
Right.
Even if you did have all the secrets.
Well, that's why Ted Williams wasn't a great manager or coach, because he had to stop because he couldn't understand why the guys he was coaching couldn't hit like he did.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, they always say the mediocre players, or sometimes the players that struggled are the best coaches because they had to work for it. Like a guy like Michael Jordan, God-given. He could fly, for God's sakes.
Right.
You can't teach flying.
Right. And I mean, it's the old phrase, those who can't teach,
Yeah.
So, I coached for a while after my playing days were brought to a halt. But with that, I'm glad you brought that up, because I heard you say that on your last video, maybe about this, or maybe Elite Hunter. Because that's a great, when you said that, I was like, damn, he's 100% correct.
When I said what?
That Elon Musk ain't out here selling his how to get rich, or any of those guys. Like you hear some guy just all of a sudden write a book, he's doing infomercials or whatever, how to buy stocks. And I remember when
it's even worse with YouTube, because I mean, you need a hell of a lot of subs, and you have to make videos every day to replace that kind of money. You know what I mean?
I get John's advice for free. I hope he doesn't start charging me.
No one would pay it, dude. No one would pay it.
Well, we do have John's got a link for us for his monthly membership. that we're going to scroll across here.
Yeah.
www. I don't.
That yet, but
I have a daily free membership where I just show you some card, hopefully maybe you never seen before, or taught you something new.
right.
Hashtag give me your money,
And
dummy.
I'm going to get into that when we get done with this foolishness, because because last week I brought up some things that touched on it, and then watching your video reinforced what I was saying. And I can tell you this, and I'm not going to make a second video apologizing to the man. I haven't understood how Jeff Wilson.
I got a lot of heat for that.
I know. I saw Blue
And
Jacket.
I'm like, you know what? I probably deserve it.
Blue Jacket 66.
Because I'll tell you, I saw a video right after that pissed me off, and I was like, man, I wish I could take that back. Because you know what he did? And he's done a couple shady, in my opinion. Like he paid $20,000 for that 1952 Bowman pack.
Mhm.
Made it sound like he was paying it, but then they're breaking it in the next scene.
Well,
So he didn't pay. So I don't think he paid that.
Well,
and then he buys
that
that Michael Jordan star card for $100,000. Today he uploaded a video where his friend says it's worth $50,000. So I'm not sure he paid that. Like I think it might be staged.
Or he's taking a lot. He's purposely doing it and taking a lot.
Now, the thing is if you paid $100,000 for that card today, next year it might be worth $200,000. But it's still not good advice if you could have bought it for $50,000. Because instead of $100,000, you'll make $150,000. Either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
go,
it's
Snoop.
I think it might be staged, but we don't know that. We don't know that.
Snoop says I'm going to sell how to do rant videos. LOL. You're right, Snoop.
Legend status, Snoop.
That's right.
I need to get up with you, Snoop. I need to talk to you.
And also, because Jeff, to me, I started hate watching him a long time ago.
Oh my god!
What?
I just hate watching
him. I just hate.
I just didn't tick right. Never heard that before.
My friends at work were like, "Why do you watch this guy?" I sit there and get red in the face, yelling at the screen. I'm on medication now, so I don't do that. But anyway, he he's on there and he blew up out of nowhere, and everything circled back around on each other, buying Carmelo Bell or Ball or whatever cards.
Yeah,
telling people to buy relief pitchers, and then he makes this app or whatever, and that's what's charging people $100 to do that is what's paying for all this stuff he's buying. And I am sure he is a front man for a larger entity.
He's an idea guy.
I think he has, because they have a thing called a dinner club that you got to put in for to be in, and they talk with all the leaders of the whatever industry that they're in, and now it's baseball cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine, whatever somebody wants to do.
Right.
But it's just like you have to understand that a lot of what he shows is fantasy.
Right.
It's fantasy.
Well, John,
he's paying prices that's not what those cards sell for. And I just hope nobody, gets duped. It's very entertaining.
I am.
I don't want to say I hate watch. I watch like all these guys because I want to know what's going on in my hobby. So I watch everybody. I want to see what's being said and so forth, and who's scamming who. And that's the education. I used to do that on eBay too, because if you don't know what the scams are, you might fall for one. So I like to be aware.
You got to do your due diligence.
Look out for myself.
Yeah, you got to do your due diligence. And
wow, I guess you're being called Johnny Livestream now, huh?
That's got to be Don. That's got to be. I call him. What do I call him? Sky High Donnie Live.
You got Don, Lou, they're all calling you that over here. The whole misfit crew.
Well, we text all day, every day.
Right. You got to have groups.
And we share a lot of information. So anytime some cutting news. Speaking of cutting news, I don't know if you guys heard this. So the other day, and this is a great conversation to have too, by the way, and I don't know the details, but the other day, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I wake up in the morning. Now I trade stocks. That's like that's my other hobby. And so I wake up and my Foot Locker stock Foot Locker has a long history of paying an awesome dividend, and you probably wouldn't think it by just thinking about the company, but it has been a phenomenal stock over the years, and it pays a phenomenal dividend. And I like to buy dividends. So it got really beat up. What fell down into the 20s, and
Can I
so
ask
I
you a
bought it. The
question real
dividend
quick?
went up to like 6%. So the other day I wake up and it's up $7. And I'm like, what? Oh, did they report numbers? You know, what's happening? Because I didn't think they were reporting. And it turned out that they cut some deal with Fanatics. And that's why the stock was up $7. And I'm wondering if we are soon going to be able to buy baseball cards at Foot Locker. That'd be awesome.
Well, it's a possibility because I worked for Champ Sports for years, and it's owned by the same people.
Yeah.
And we sold what was the beginning of Fanatic stuff. So back then,
Well,
but
I know.
that's what I was going to ask: is Foot Locker sold under Foot Locker or their parent company?
Foot Locker.
Okay, because they're owned by the Venator Group. When I was working for them, unless they broke off.
Here's an interesting little fact I
All the
learned
Foot
yesterday.
Lockers and Champs.
I learned this yesterday at the card shop, and the card shop I go to, he's got his application in. Topps is taking applications so you can buy wholesale from them, buy direct from them.
Yeah.
And the key is you have to have brick and mortar.
Really?
No straight on breakers. No breakers are allowed. No online only presence.
But I mean,
you have to have, and they're saying that's coming from, he said he was told
Wow.
by the rep that that's coming from Fanatics.
Well,
wow.
that's
So
the Upper
okay.
Deck plan, pretty much.
You know what? Maybe that's the re-rise of the card store. I'm telling you, they're going to be selling them in their stores. Who knows?
Yes.
Maybe they'll launch it. Maybe they'll launch a line of card stores.
I think. Well, yeah, that's a. I mean,
I doubt it. I doubt it. They already have the infrastructure. They already have the stores. They already sell similar types of things.
Well,
See, I've always considered those trinkets that they sell.
Right.
They're not true collectibles. Like a
Right.
guy that, everything I have in this room, with the exception of this basketball hoop up here, is an actual collectible. Like it was, issued. Like I have a Dr. J poster from the probably the early 80s. Those things I kind of call trinkets.
Right.
So it'd be great to go in there and actually get real collectibles.
Yeah,
It's
because
going to be cool.
well, you have like the Kentucky Road Show or whatever. He's starting to open up different shops. So if Fanatics could jump in with one of them, and start.
Yeah, well, at the minimum, they'll be selling packs, new
Right.
packs at the minimum.
Well, I think Fanatics wants to start work. This is my opinion, and you can take it for what it's worth. I think I think they want to get the actual people in the LCSs again, getting the LCSs more involved. That's me, because if you don't have them, because there's people thinking they want to get rid of them, but that's the basis of our hobby. If you get rid of them and you make everything retail, I don't think that's a way to go. You can make it part of it, but
Well, I'll tell you, I love the local card shop experience. I mean, I love it. Being able to see the card, being able to interact with people, learn things, talk to other collectors. That's preferable. However, I think that drives prices up too, because rent is expensive.
yes,
Overhead is expensive. If I'm selling cards online or on eBay, I mean, I can charge you a lot less than a guy that needs to pay that kind of rent. You know what I mean?
And it's not,
and you'll have.
Well, I know a lot of the card shops that are surviving now in bigger locations are selling not just cards; they're selling all the like banners and T-shirts and whatever.
That kind of happened. I say it all the time. When I got back into the hobby in 2014, from when I was collecting in the early 2000s, the card prices had come down or stayed the same, and so. All those, if you wanted to have a card shop, a lot of them weren't making it or whatever. So they got into gaming and like you're saying, other things, selling shirts. And it seemed like every card shop was selling jerseys and hats and everything too.
Right.
So maybe we go back to the straight up card shop. That'd be awesome.
Right. I would love to see that, but like you said, they're going to be in not probably the greatest parts of town and
or
small
smaller actual businesses, not
right.
like the guy that I was talking about. He has a pretty good size floor plan and where he's
Yeah,
at, but the one I saw yesterday in China Grove, it's small, so his overhead's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'll tell you, if they go to brick and
more.
mortar and breaking continues to be popular, man, that's good for the card shops. That's really
Right.
good for the card shops. Good for them.
I couldn't believe he said that
Yeah,
they told him that.
Well, I think that's because to me, to get the prices, because to me the prices went up because priority of the hobby boxes went to the breakers.
Yep.
So it kept us from getting our hands on it. So then the big 3 or 4, how many there are online now, had to pay more to get more. And it just started going up. When I started talking to different card shop owners, what they were promised 50 cases, get 5 or 10, and then all of a sudden they have the rest. They had the rest, but it's at a higher price. That was happening a lot, and I think Fanatics got mad. That's why with GTS or whatever they took it away from them because they were doing that. That was their gig. They were running the prices up.
Yeah. I think that's going to be good for the consumer, getting rid of these wholesale distributors because they don't need them. They've already got distribution in place for wherever they're going to sell.
I believe the Fanatics IPO is coming out in December, I think. And man, I got to hand it to Fanatics. You know, they get that MLB deal, and then after Topps, is pretty much worthless, they turn around and buy them, and they don't even have to change anything. I mean, it's just brilliant. I got to hand it to those guys. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, they just pulled as small as this hobby world is and insignificant to the major world on a whole, it just pulled the rug right under. It just made it like it did make it mainstream for about a half a week when that sell, because even my dad called me up and go, the Topps just lose because because that's what my dad grew up with Topps, so it's like he's 76, so he was like, what's going on, Scott?
Y'all remember the original Dallas TV show?
Yeah.
Fanatics,
I didn't watch it, but I remember
Fanatics did a J.R. Ewing on Cliff Barnes Topps. They pulled a J.R. Ewing deal.
Thanks, Clay.
Who did shoot JR? I forget. Remember, everybody used to wear those T-shirts. Who shot JR?
It was a dream.
It was a dream.
The whole season was a dream sequence. Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, my mom watched.
I was too busy watching baseball and collecting baseball cards
and looking at them.
Right, and looking at them.
I was too. I was always in the floor every night with them out. I want to. This is Rick. I want to know when Snoop is going to go do another rant video. The Hobbyist Plenty rant about.
Hey, yeah, he was ahead of his time with that rant.
Yeah, he was. And the thing is like I've done rant videos on Topps. I've talked about different members in the community, and we have to self-police us. We don't have regulations. We don't have, and just to make sure to keep the rudder and keep everything on course. And because this is my hope, and we can end on this. And I want to get to how you hobby. I want to just say this: I've seen kids at shows, ballparks, at my LCS. They're awesome. They know their stuff, and at my LCS they are more collectors than they are with the Pelican cases. They have trade nights. They're looking for their favorite players. It's awesome. But I did, when I went to Hickory last week, I saw plenty of Pelican cases at that trade show. But my hope is when that happens, they get that one card of that one player, and then that hooks them. That is the thing to go, wow. And hopefully we can keep some that way. But then again, a lot of them are going to get like us and be in our teens and 20s and want to do other things. and
well,
come back to it later.
absolutely. You know, we've all been through the same basic
right.
cycle, right?
Right. And come back to it later, and they have a basis of where to start. And, and I've said it before, I'm very grateful for the community. I am very grateful of this because when I grew up, I just didn't have this support in my area. So, any last words on this, John? And hopefully this is the end of this.
I think it's been beat.
Right. And now I want to get to how you hobby. Nats Man has one question that's in your background. He asked me about it yesterday. Go ahead, Nats Man.
Where did you get the heads at?
The what?
The heads for the ball caps and batting.
Oh, you know what? Michael sells them. They're like $7.
Okay.
And they have there's two different types, and then they have a female one too. If you have a smaller hat, the female head is smaller. And a lot of people will paint them different shades to be like international players or whatever. But they're perfect to hold hats. They're just perfect. Now, not a lot of people have enough space for them.
Who's the Mets one?
So believe it or not, I was a Gary Templeton fan, and that was his hat, and it's signed underneath. Okay. And then these are those old ones you get at the stadium. Yeah. Man, I used to get those to play home run derby. And
yes.
And so I have a whole bunch of them. They're very nostalgic for me. This is Boog Powell. It's signed by Boog Powell, Eric Davis, Al Oliver. And then this hat here is Bobby Thompson and Ralph Branca. It's signed by those two. Shot heard around the world.
I was going to ask you, so Bobby Thompson is shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
Because there has been another one since Bobby Thompson. But
thank you.
Me and my friends, speaking of that with the helmets, we would play what we call tennis balls, baseball with the tennis ball and the plastic bat, because we got too big for the yards. And we would put on a helmet, and whoever you had to pick a player and imitate the swing.
Well, that's what I used to do. I used to play the whole Pirates starting lineup, and I would impersonate every batting swing, and we'd play home run derby, and I'd go through the whole lineup.
I would have the Brewers and imitate old Cecil Cooper.
Yeah,
with that lean back,
Good player.
Yeah, he was Tony Gwynn-esque light. You know what I'm saying? Could hit all fields, just didn't have the consistency of Tony Gwynn. Who was on deck when Thompson hit that home run? Won't it Willie?
It's an obscure player, and I'm not going to remember.
Oh, it's Don. So.
I think it's a player I don't even never even heard of except for in that trivia question.
Okay, Don, go away.
I would like to know the answer though.
Hey Don, tell us the answer. Oh, I'm sure he knows it.
Is that Don Phil the Dream Stone?
Walked up there by accident, probably.
He's probably just asking me that because he knows I don't know the answer because he already stumped me once on it.
You got him, Don. Good job. But my biggest question is you every day you pull out some card that's obscure, some manufacturer I've never heard of, and makes me want to go find who else they've done. Now, when you do that, is that something? Because I've always wanted to ask Grit this too. Is this something you look for, you've heard about, or is this just something you come across, or how do you find these things?
Well, it's both, and that's what makes it so much fun for me. Is that sometimes I'll learn about a set I didn't know about by accident. I read Beckett Vintage. Mm-hmm. I read when I was a member of PSA, that magazine. I read Sports Collectors Digest, and they will have articles on these cards. So that's one thing. Like the standard catalog of baseball cards, I would read that like I was in medical school. And you can go through there and just read up on these sets, and I'll find one and say, oh man, I want to. I like this Maple Chris Bet. I found this just reading through the standard catalog of baseball cards, and they had a picture. If you go on there in the checklist, it's Walter Johnson, and I saw it, and I was like, I just always wanted that card and had an opportunity to grab one. Then there are other times where I'm just like looking at other stuff, like maybe on eBay, and like when you go down below, it'll recommend other things, or you buy something and then other things pop up, and something will just, I'll be curious about it, and I'll go research it, and then I'll be like, oh man, I gotta have one of those, because after I research it, uh, so it's both. Sometimes I'll stumble on a card and then research it, and sometimes I research it first and then go looking for the card. It just depends, but that's what makes it so much fun.
Right.
Because I'm a
Yeah,
very curious person and I love history. I've always
I hear
loved history,
this
so
all the time.
this combines that.
I was a history major in college, and I love the history of the game, but I'm more, if I have a certain amount of money, I love 70s and 80s players, my
Yeah.
90s guys. So I'm more in depth in getting the guys I grew up with.
Yeah, and I mean, you have the guys that you watched and you want to collect them, and they're nostalgic. People like, for me, like Bill Madlock, Willie Stargell, but then you have the
Right.
guys that came before you that you didn't watch, and for whatever reason, your dad told you about Roberto Clemente and how phenomenal he was, so you become enamored with that player, and then that makes you want to go and read up on them or whatever. There was a Roberto Clemente book when I was in the fifth grade, and every recess, I would grab that book and I would read it. It was a little paperback on his life. He said he used to squeeze a rubber ball to strengthen his arm. So I used to squeeze a rubber ball every night to strengthen my arm when I was playing. I wanted to do what Roberto was. And I read that book. It was a wrinkled mess. And she finally, one day, she's like, just take it home with you. She was so sick of seeing me read that thing. And then
Right.
we have the old players like Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Oscar Charleston. And once you learn about these guys, you go back and start to read about them. And every player has a story. Every life has a story. And
Right.
there are obscure players like Benny Koff. What a fantastic story, life story, a guy like that. And so then you want his card. And you didn't see him play, and you only know what people say about him. You don't know, if some of these guys were as good as we're told. We don't know. We
Right.
didn't see them play.
Right.
So that's just what's so much fun for me.
Yeah, that's my my most cherished item I own is the 9 innings uh documentary, right? What Brett Burns did. So I can watch all that classic like baseball pre-war stuff, things that really taught me a lot. And you know, when I Roberto, I've learned a lot about cards. I brought up last week that I think the oil company play ball card. Then there's two different kinds. Well, I didn't look at the back. I didn't know there's two different kinds. Man, did I learn a lot just bringing that up, and I'm glad I didn't buy it for the price that it was at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What were they asking for it?
It was
if you don't mind.
1100.
Oh man, that's what was it graded a high grade?
6.5.
Okay, so that's a very high grade for that issue, believe it or not.
Right, I know that, but
Yeah.
it was a BVG. That's I don't really trust BVG. When it comes to that type of card, right? If I got David Wrights, I got other BVG cards, modern cards, but when it came to that, yeah, I was kind of like hesitant.
Oh, okay.
But like I said,
that might be the highest graded example, and that's why it was so expensive, because that card's nowhere near that in mid to lower grade. See, what happened was that was a 1968 Atlantic Oil, and they would give them to you, and it was like almost like a coupon kind of thing.
Yeah,
and they tore them, so they're all torn on the side, and some of them are nice and cleanly, more cleanly cut, but most of them have some sort of paper loss from when the gas station attendant ripped them or whatever, however they distribute it.
This was clean. I saw it had perforated edges, and it was very clean. I didn't see any rips because you said it had tears. So now I feel like once you tell me this, now I'm thinking my big thing was it has that label that always gives me cringes. Book price was this. My price is this. Right?
Yeah.
So that always. So
I mean, that's one of those. Yeah, that's one of those cards that if you see it in that grade, I would tend to think that maybe it came in full form. It was left over. It was never distributed. And then somebody who was a collector and knew what it was, or wanted to take better care of it, really tore it off nicely later on or something like that. Because
So
you just don't see
is
sharp
better?
ones.
Well, which back is the least, like they said there's one that's the game card and one that's the tells you what it's about. Like it had two different backs.
I mean, to be honest with you, I've noticed the backs, but I'm not a back collector, and
Okay.
those backs aren't like, they're not a back you're going to sit there and read like stats or a bio.
Because I know
They're just part of the part of the promotion or whatever.
Right.
And so I've never paid that much attention to the backs. But yes, I know what you're talking about.
I've had great luck moving here and with Clemente's. I bought that cutout where it came with, I think, 8 or 9 different pirates, and you would cut them out, and they had a card. I forgot what it's called. I usually have it sitting right here.
Hold on a second.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure you got it. To answer your question, 357, I have no graded comics. I just have comic books. I don't know if I'll ever get graded. I just have them raw. I do have 70s Star Wars and some other 70s comics.
Are you talking about this?
Yes, and I just have the Clemente one.
Yeah. So this is a full sheet. This is how they came. They were almost like, I've never pulled them off to know what's underneath, but do you remember the old color forms back in the day? Mm-hmm. Those were real popular. Where I don't think they're exactly the same, but that type of thing,
right?
Where we used to put them on a board or something like that. And then and Dave Blue Jacket 66 sent me these, and they have they come in an envelope. Mm-hmm. And I have that too, but and then you pull these out of the envelope and you peel each one off. And PSA does grade these, which I find kind of funny because of some of the things they don't grade, that they grade these.
Classic Reese.
I don't know. They just don't. They're not cards.
Classic John. Right? Hold on. Then he returns the item. I knew he was too, Reese. It was just James, to answer your question, it did. My dad said it looks awesome. I'm going to pick it up Labor Day weekend. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I bought a picture of Gary Carter, Yogi Berra, Carlton Fisk, and Johnny Bench, each one autographed, and got it framed.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I bought it at the show.
Hey, back to Clemente for a second. Did you know they made Roberto Clemente shoes? Converse back in the day, in the early 70s?
No, but it doesn't. I'm sure you have them.
They made them in different colors. I'd love to get the yellow. They made them in low tops and high tops. They have his signature here, and then inside it says number 21, Roberto Clemente.
Nice.
These are harder to find in any card.
I'll bet.
They had them on Pawn Stars. They had somebody brought them in. He wanted $10,000 for them. They were new in a box, and they were yellow. And the yellow ones are cool because that's the colors of the Pirates, right? But they're so hard to find that I grabbed the first pair I could find, and I figure if I ever get the yellow someday or a better pair, then maybe I'll. Well, nice. Quite honestly, the way I am, if they're a different color and they're low tops, if they're different in any way, I'll keep both. That's just the way I am.
You're a collector like me. I keep hearing, to sell some things and stuff like that. A lot of my good stuff I want to keep because I'm a collector.
Pepino Man said something brilliant. I used to sell off all my doubles to buy new cards. Right. But Pepino Man said something, and it was brilliant, and I had never thought about it before. And I think I've probably said it on James's live. Yep. Is that every vintage card is different. No two are identical because there's different cuts. There's fisheyes on some. There's different, you even have different shades. Some are darker print. Like you take the Dave Parker rookie. Some are real dark. Some are real light. So vintage cards are like that. New cards, if you put two next to each other, you can't tell them apart. But like you go out and buy 10 1969 Reggie Jackson rookie cards, and no two of them will look identical.
Right.
And so having doubles of them makes sense to me now. Since
Right.
Pepino said that, it makes total sense.
Right.
Because you have two different cards, even though it's the same, you know what I mean.
Yep. And I'm here to tell you, Pepino is a genius. People need to listen. But
He is a genius.
When it comes between his shenanigans,
well, I'm going to tell you something. People that have a good sense of humor are smart.
right.
You have to be smart to have a good sense of humor.
Usually the jester is the genius. He can get away with making fun of everybody and do it very,
That's why the king would pick them.
That's right. So anything else that you want to share with us, John? We're at the hour mark. I like to keep it an hour, and I don't want to keep my.
You know what? I'm good unless somebody had a question or something that wasn't answered.
Telling me to ask, let's see. I got ask John if he ever got his Clemente Beckett vintage issue.
Yes, I did. Finally, I had to write to them. No, think about this. I've been getting that magazine since they started it again, and I used to get it back in the day.
Right.
And the one that I don't receive is the Clemente one. And so Reese is sending me a picture of it, and I'm like, I didn't get that yet. So I'm looking out. So before the National, I reached out and I said, hey, I never got this. My friend got it a week ago. They said, well, you'll have it by the 26th. So I don't have it before I leave. I go to the National. I come home. I still don't have it. So I wrote to them again and said, I still don't have it. And then they did. They sent it to me in an envelope on it by itself. So I give them props. When I reached out, they sent me another copy. I don't know whatever happened to the other one.
So Rick asked John, who did you take batting practice from?
Well, I didn't take batting practice from him, but I got hitting lessons from Willie Stargio, and he's probably just saying that because I say it all the time.
Right. Well, yeah,
it was a proud time.
Hey, I got hitting lessons from Johnny Oates.
Well, I got hitting lessons from Steve Blass too. I went to Steve Blass's baseball camp, and man, he had all these like up and coming ball players there. And it's funny. I had a coach. I had two coaches who played minor league baseball, and one of them taught me to pop my hips to get more power. I hit to all fields. I wanted to be like Clemente, and I wanted to be a high average hitter. Right. And he taught me to pop those hips. And once he taught me to pop them, it was really hard to unpop them. So I tended to pull everything. I hit the ball hard and pulled it hard, but it kind of ruined me a little bit because I pulled everything. So I go to his baseball camp. And I pulled a thigh muscle. So he would let me bat, and then he would run for me. Yeah. So I hit a line shot, to the third baseman, and he's running down first, and he comes back. The next time up, I hit a line shot to the third baseman. He comes back. He's like, so I go up the third time, and he's like, if you hit that damn ball down third base again, he's all mad. So I went, and I got a bat that was like 3 ounces heavier. So I couldn't get around on it, and then I ripped a double into left field into the gap, and he had somebody else run because he was tired of running, and so I went back to the bench and I said, "You happy now?"
I have Paige and Denabine he's asked me actually a couple of good questions, and the first one was, is there any modern cards or players that interest you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so the thing is, and Lou will attest to this, I have tons of modern cards. That's another misnomer about me, is that I people think that I think that anybody collects modern stupid and vintage is king. That is not true at all. Right. I'm a modern card collector. The thing is for me, everybody's watching these guys. Everybody knows about these guys. Everybody knows about these cards. And I like to tell a story, a history. And so what am I going to say that you don't already know about Mike Trout, right? So it's just not as much fun for me to make those types of videos. But when I get those cards, I do show them.
Right. Now, when I ask this, even though Rick says you don't like one of the terms that's in this question, any oddball modern cards that John really likes?
There's no such thing as an oddball card. They're all cards.
I was going to ask you how it was written, even though Rick told me not to.
A card's a card. Only Rick's oddball.
Yeah, is it
Rick and I were gonna split something on REA, and I knew it was gonna go for a lot of money, and I bid on a backup. That's the video I uploaded. I had a backup going on because I had a feeling I was gonna get outbid on the one I wanted, and I won the
that
backup.
last Sunday when y'all were chatting
Yeah.
back and forth on it?
Oh, we were texting back and forth until the thing closed.
Yeah.
So after it closed.
This is the breaks. I'm just going to read this because this is great. It's lucky we don't have to pay to hear John speak. He's the best.
I appreciate that. I appreciate all your support on my channel too. All the comments. I appreciate that in a big way. You know, it really means a lot when I see the same names commenting and especially the support, because you know how social media can be. And any kind comment is appreciated.
Yeah, I'm a little worried I don't have Colorado Car Dude hasn't came on. I'm worried about him a little bit tonight.
Yeah, you know, you get to see these guys that are commenting all the time, and then they don't, and you wonder what happened to them. Like, did something happen to them? Did they just not collect anymore? Did you piss them off? You know, but you do wonder because you get to know these names.
I'm pretty sure that's how me and Nadsman started talking. We started talking on each other's thing, and then he just stopped. And I hit him up one day, and I was like, "Hey, man, everything good? Haven't heard from you in a couple of weeks."
Yeah, I don't think people that make the comments, some of them probably do, like Jackie Chapman, but I don't think they realize that, you know, even though it's just a name and it's a little bit of a brief conversation, maybe. I mean, they do add so much, and we do build these relationships with them, and you know, we know them immediately when they comment. You want to read it.
Right. Well, this is the break. Says he's in Colorado. Welcome to my channel. I think this is the first night I've seen you on here. Apologize if it's not. But welcome to my channel. I hope you.
I have to apologize too to him because he made a comment and I mistook it, and it was when I was getting a bunch of hate comments.
Yeah, you'll get your brain.
You get pushed in a corner.
Well, his name sounds, you know, like the people that were insulting me, and I remember I said something like "Go break something, leave me alone" or something, and I felt really bad because I totally mistook it. It's just after you get a few hate comments in a row, you start to expect them,
right?
And you know, that's the thing about I always said about texting and stuff is when you're talking, you have inflection in your voice. You can see if somebody's smiling when they say something. But on text, sometimes you can take something the wrong way. So I apologize in a big way. I felt so bad.
Yeah. And well, John, I am so happy you came on tonight. I'm glad to get to know you a little bit better, more than just hi and shaking a hand and small chat at the show. I hope we can do this again sometime. And I want to say this and reiterate what Mike and JT said on theirs with your channel. Why pay? We can go to places like John and Rick, Don, Lou Rock, and these are guys I reach out to last weekend or weekend before when I have a question. Miko, it's just a wealth of knowledge, and including me and that's man. Whatever I can tell you, I can give you some numbers. But you know, if I can help you or one of these guys, we're here, and it's for free.
It's the same with me. You know, I've never turned somebody down who reaches out for help unless they're asking me what's something worth or something, because I just don't follow pricing, but I'll try to help. But I get messages all the time. People will find me on Facebook and ask my opinion and send a card. Somebody, it happens all the time, and I always respond. And I always take a look and let them know if I think it's a good deal, if I think it's real, or, you know, that kind of thing. And that's part of what's the beauty of this hobby. I want to tell you, if you go to Rick Vintage Oddball Cards and you watch his videos and you watch Dave Blue Jacket 66 and you watch Baseball Collector and you watch Nuff Said Cards and you watch TJ Maxx Vintage Cards, you'll have a PhD in cards in no time.
Yes.
You don't need to pay for that stuff. These guys know 100,000 times what somebody that started a year or two ago knows. You know, I mean, Confucius said it's better to travel 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books. You can only learn from experiencing stuff.
Right. Yeah. And we learn through life. You know, you're going to win some and lose some, and you're going to learn from the losses. You said that in
Hey,
a couple of your videos through this whole thing. So,
well, this is the thing. Dave and I, we'll text back and forth, asking each other, and we've been collecting all our lives, and we've been collecting vintage, and we've been collecting obscure stuff, and we still are learning stuff.
right.
You know, he and I are asking, do you know where this get? You know this? You know how this was distributed? And I mean,
Yeah.
that's how much not information. It's unlimited. So to think you know anything after a year or two, you're either cocky or stupid because you don't.
Right.
You don't. I'm still learning. You'll never know it all.
I can tell you right now, this is what you just said just hit home, because that's what happened with me last year. I mean, last week with that Clemente card, is I got a little gun shy with the unsettledness in this hobby, me not being 100% great with non-tops vintage.
Yeah.
Even tops gets me a little bit. I didn't know what to do. I looked up comps. I tried everything. I called Mike. Mike went to was it the VCP for me? In the last sale was a year ago, and it was a 2.5. So it wasn't apples to apples. And,
Well, that's what I'm telling you. You don't find them in 6.5s, and I'm sure that's why that was selling for that.
Okay, and now I know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was, if it was just a couple $100, and I don't just say that just a couple. If it was a couple $100, I would have went ahead and did it, because I don't know I've never seen that card before, and will I again? I'm hoping that I will, and because that guy's a local dealer, I talked to him for a while. So
yeah. But I mean, you also have to weigh in, like for $1,100 or something. What other card could you buy instead that might be nicer, right?
Well,
I mean, just because you have the two types of cards. You have cards that the card is rare, and then you have cards that the card's very common, but the grade is rare.
So
a rare grade doesn't turn me on personally. Like, I could care less. I like rare cards where the card itself is rare.
Right. And you brought up a great point, is like, just because I think the guys that don't know a lot, just because it's expensive, they put expensive and rare as an equal mark.
Yeah.
When that's not necessarily true at all. So,
yep.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for opening
thanks for having me.
These last couple of weeks. You've made us think as a hobby, and this is all. It's always awesome to learn, think, and grow. I mean,
absolutely.
It's an awesome thing, and I for me, I want to thank you for that, and thank you for not going live last Sunday. So
we all have to work together and help each other out,
right.
man. We have a lot of forces against us right now.
Right.
We got to stick together.
And I've said this before. I was at 500 like 2 weeks ago. I had somebody drop off, so if somebody can hit that subscribe button, I would love you forever.
Hit the like button.
And if you haven't hit the like button, and you got to do it an odd number of times, either 1, 3, 5. You got to do it like that.
Well, I'll tell you something. I hit, I don't know. I think it's a 700. That's the magic number. I must have gone above and below 718 times before I finally went above it and stayed above it.
Right. It just doesn't. I'm not one for the numbers. I really am not. When I started this was for me, for my friends. It was a bet. It was a lot of different things. It was something, especially when I had my dad on a couple of times. It's all those things. So,
we're all like that, but it still feels good to know you're resonating with some people. I mean, if you're talking to 30 people all the time, then you think maybe nobody likes what I'm doing. Like, is it even worth doing? I mean, it's not about the money, or you're trying to have Jab's family subs. Like, we don't care about that, but you want to have the enough subs that makes you feel good about yourself.
I can tell you, when I saw 500 by my name count, I know that's tiddlywinks in YouTube land. Yeah, it made me warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah,
I don't care if it went back under. I knew I had 500 there.
Well, that's a good lesson in collecting too. What makes one person happy, what impresses one person, doesn't necessarily impress or make another person happy, right?
Right. Yeah, because I mean, this is so. I got this last weekend too. So, I picked up this Ralph Sampson 1/1 autograph.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. NT. And most people are like, Ralph Sampson, but he played at UVA, University of Virginia. I grew up in Virginia. with Ralph Sampson, Othell Wilson, and those guys. So that type of thing, just, Mike O showed cards last night. We sent in the CSG. One of them he didn't know anything about. He goes, he must have played at UVA.
he's another one that I met at the National. It's so wonderful to meet all these people that you see.
Mike has been my
and
first guy to really back me up on this channel. So
yeah,
I think a lot of him. So until next time, like, share, tell a friend. And again, thanks, John, and thanks to everybody in chat. This has been another great one. And
thanks for having me. I'm honored.